On my birthday, my mom sent a text in the family group chat. No one's coming to your party. Grow up. I read it twice, replied, understood, and then canceled the $2,300 automatic rent payment for them. The next day, I took back the car and canceled every credit card they'd ever used. Hey, Reddit, birthdays used to mean a lot to me, not for gifts or attention, but because in a family like mine, you cling to every bit of affection you can find. But this year, my 32nd birthday, I finally stopped waiting for love from those who never intended to give it. Our family chat was usually quiet, only coming alive when someone needed money, a bill paid, or a last-minute loan they never returned. But on my birthday morning, I awoke hopeful. Just one message, just one happy birthday, just one moment where I wasn't the family's bank but a daughter. Instead, my phone buzzed. Mom, at 8 a.m. No one's coming to your party. Grow up. I stared at the message, rereading it twice. No explanation. No apology. Not even a fake excuse. Just cruelty on my birthday in a group chat with 9 people who said nothing in my defense. This message might not hurt someone else the same way, but to understand why it felt like a blow, you need to know my family. My parents struggled financially throughout my childhood. Overdraft notices, eviction threats, power shutoffs, empty fridges. But once I turned 20 and got a decent job, they suddenly found stability because I became it. I helped them because I wanted them safe and comfortable, hoping for a family bond, even if I had to create it alone. For the past 6 years, I covered their $2,300 rent each month, their electricity, internet, phone bills. I gave them my old Toyota when they had no car, added them as users on my credit cards, and paid off their medical debts. They treated it like it was normal, expected, deserved. I didn't realize then that I had been their retirement plan since I bought my first laptop. I decided to host a small birthday dinner at my apartment. Nothing fancy, just food, candles, and a tiny hope that my family might celebrate me for once. My friends were out of town, my siblings were absent, just a few cousins who rarely spoke to me. I set the table, lit the candles, made my favorite pasta, and waited. Minutes passed, then an hour, then 2. No one came, no one called, no one texted except for that single group message. Grow up. I blew out the candles by myself and sat at the table alone. For the first time in a long while, I didn't cry. I went still, very still. Moments like this don't break you. They wake you up. I picked up my phone and typed one word. Understood. Then I opened my banking app. The $2,300 rent payment had been set for so long that I barely remembered not paying it. I tapped cancel recurring payment. Just like that, 6 years of financial support vanished with a single click. I felt something shift in my chest, something that felt like freedom. But I wasn't finished. At 8 a.m., I drove to my parents' apartment. My mom opened the door, startled. Oh, you're here? Yep, I said calmly. She blinked. Did you bring breakfast?
No.
I came for the car. Her mouth dropped open. What? I held up the spare key I had kept hidden. You didn't come to my birthday. You didn't care. So, I'm taking back the car I pay for. Dad stormed out from the hallway. You're joking. No, I replied. For the first time in my life, I'm not. He marched toward me, pointing. This is childish. Oh, I shot back, because what you did yesterday was mature. They went silent, the kind of silence where guilt sits in their throats, but pride prevents them from acknowledging it. I walked outside, unlocked the car, and drove it away while they stood in the doorway like forgotten statues. When I got home, I opened my laptop and logged into my credit card accounts. My parents had been authorized users for years, groceries, gas, clothes, random purchases I never questioned. I clicked remove user, then another, then another. 3 cards wiped clean. My parents would wake up tomorrow with all their safety nets gone. And the best part? It wasn't revenge, it was consequences, something they'd never faced because I always shielded them. At noon, my mother called. Then again, then again. She texted, you canceled the rent payment. Is this some kind of joke? Why is the car declined? Where is the car? Call me now. I didn't answer because, for the first time in my life, I wasn't their child, their caregiver, or their wallet. I was simply done. And that felt powerful. The real shock came when my dad called and said, "You'll regret this. We're cutting you out of the family." I smiled as I set the phone down because, for once, that didn't feel like a loss. It felt like a release. What happened over the next 48 hours, their meltdown, their panic, the truth that spilled out, proved I was never the one who needed to grow up. They were. When I canceled the rent payment, took back the car, and removed their access to my credit cards, I expected anger, but got real panic. Panic that comes when people realize their comfort was built on someone else's suffering. By the next morning, I had 46 missed calls and 39 unread messages. Not one said sorry. Not one said happy birthday. Not one said we were wrong. Instead, they wrote, "Mom, the rent is due today. Turn the payment back on. Dad, grow up and stop acting petty. Cousin James, why are you doing this to your parents? Mom, we need the car. Bring it back. Dad, you're ungrateful after all we've done for you. Aunt Lisa, family doesn't turn their back like this. Family." Funny word coming from those who didn't show up on my birthday but demanded I fund their lives. Around noon, my parents arrived at my apartment, not knocking gently or asking to talk, but banging, pounding, shouting, "Open this door right now." I opened it slowly. Mom pushed past me. Dad barged in behind her, acting like my home was still theirs. Mom headed straight for the kitchen while Dad looked around like he was inspecting the damage. Then he turned to me. "Turn the rent payment back on. Now." I leaned against the counter. "No." Mom spun around. "What do you mean, no? You can't do this to us." "Oh," I said softly, "because you had no problem doing it to me yesterday." Dad scoffed. "That was just a message." "No," I corrected him. "That was a message on my birthday telling me I didn't matter to you." Mom threw her hands in the air. "For God's sake, it was a joke." Was anyone laughing? Silence. They weren't expecting consequences, because I had never given them any. Dad stepped closer. "We are your parents. It's your job to take care of us." There it was, the truth. Their entitlement wasn't an accident. It was foundational. "Actually," I said quietly, "you're perfectly capable adults who decided to live beyond your means because you thought I'd cover everything." Mom's eyes narrowed. "We raised you. We gave you everything." I laughed, not bitter, just done. "You gave me trauma. You made me responsible at 14. You gave me guilt. You gave me a childhood where I parented myself." Mom's face twisted. "You're being dramatic." "No," I replied. "I'm being honest." Dad's phone rang. He answered, annoyed. "What?" His face drained of color. "Yes, we're working on it." "No, don't send the notice. We'll have the payment." He hung up, trembling with rage and fear. "You got us a notice from the landlord." "No," I said. "You got yourself a notice." Mom looked at me in disbelief. "You would let us get evicted?" "You already told me I wasn't part of the family," I replied softly. "Remember?" Dad flinched because he had said, "You'll regret this. We'll cut you off." I smiled. "You can't cut off someone you've never supported." Dad's phone rang again. This time, he looked at the caller ID and went pale. Dad, my grandfather, the only rational voice in the family. He answered weakly, but Grandpa's voice was loud enough for me to hear. "What did you two say to her yesterday?" Dad stuttered. "We told her no one was coming to her birthday." "And why?" Grandpa snapped. "Would you tell your daughter something so cruel?" Dad had no answer. Grandpa continued. "She pays your bills, gives you a car, covers your debts. And this is how you treat her." Mom began to cry. Dad tried to interrupt, but Grandpa's voice cut him off. "If she shuts you off financially, that's your fault, not hers." Dad's face fell. Mom looked like she had been punched. Then Grandpa said the words that shattered their illusion. "She owes you nothing. You owe her an apology." Dad hung up slowly, silently. Mom wiped her eyes. "Honey, maybe we overreacted." Dad nodded quickly. "Yes, we're sorry. Now turn the rent back on." I stared at them. That's not an apology. That's desperation. Mom stepped closer. We'll come to your birthday dinner next year. We promise. I shook my head. There won't be a next year with you. Dad stiffened. What is that supposed to mean? It means I won't let you speak to me as if I owe you more than love and respect, things you've never given me. They were speechless. I opened the door. You need to leave. Mom started sobbing. Dad tried to stand tall but faltered. They walked out slowly, probably realizing for the first time that I wasn't their safety net, their income, or their retirement plan. I was done. The following weeks were surprisingly calm. My apartment felt lighter, quieter, safer. Their credit cards remained canceled. The car stayed with me. Their rent stayed unpaid. And guess what? They survived. They found jobs, downsized, and learned responsibility for the first time in decades. But the best part? I got my life back, my money back, my peace back. On my next birthday, I celebrated myself, a small dinner, a gift I bought for me, a quiet evening. For the first time in my life, I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't waiting on them, hoping for something different. I was simply living in the peace I created for myself. Sometimes, the ones who tell you to grow up are the ones who refuse to grow until you finally stop carrying them.